live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us for 2 News Live. I'm Jamie McGriff. It's Friday, August 11th, and we are going in depth tonight on a University of Utah data breach, how to know if you've been impacted, plus the wildfires in Maui. We're also going to be hearing from Lincoln Graves, and I also sit down with a member of the Red Cross to discuss relief efforts. Okay, so before we dive into all of this, let's take a look at what's making headlines right now. The DA says the police shooting of a 13-year-old boy with autism was unjustified, but prosecutors will not file criminal charges against the officer who repeatedly fired. 13-year-old Lyndon Cameron survived, though his mother says that he was hit 9 times by the officer's rounds. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland has appointed David Weiss special counsel to investigate Hunter Biden at Weiss's request. Weiss is the federal prosecutor who investigated Hunter Biden in the past. He brought charges against him in Delaware. And we are learning more about the death of a toddler and the arrest of that child's stepfather in St. George. Randy Lessing was arrested earlier this week after allegedly confessing to police that he was responsible for the death of his 2-year-old stepdaughter. And you might remember this day back in 1999, an F2 tornado with winds over 115 miles per hour tearing through downtown Salt Lake City. Look at the damage. It was on the ground for 10 minutes. That's just so hard to believe. Breaking off parts of the Delta Center roof. In the process, 1 person was killed. At least 100 people were also hurt. New today of a data security breach. This is the big news here that's affecting thousands of Utahns. The breach hit Murray-based University of Utah health plans. Ariel Harrison is joining us live. And Ariel, who is affected and how did this happen?
Yeah, so I spoke with U of U health plan spokespeople and individuals, and they told me that around 4,000 people who utilize that insurance are potentially impacted. They've sent notices out to these individuals, just under 4,000, I should say. And it is important to note that this involves the insurance, not U of U Health, the provider. Now, they did tell me that this information for their customers was accessed sometime between May 30th and June 2nd. A cybersecurity expert I spoke with about this case after this press release was sent out to different media outlets, who said that it came down to what it appears a software flaw that allowed external users to download different information from a server, and they discovered the breach the end of June and then took action. But that's what we know about it. We know that information access, was personal information from names, addresses, phone numbers, social security numbers, personal medical information. If it was accessed at this point, they're saying there's no indication it was, but they do want people to be alert because they did learn of this, data breach in their systems. We dive more into it coming up at 6, but concerning for anyone, Jamie, if they're hearing their personal information's accessed without their consent.
Ariel, thank you for that. And also a quick question for you. As far as those who found out about this, some of the folks who've had their identities stolen, or at least their information is now out there, did U of U at all tell you exactly how they alerted the public about this?
Yeah, they told me that they've sent out a letter. They've notified each individuals that are impacted, and said that they just need those people to be monitoring their accounts, their credit score very closely. If they notice any activity, to make sure that they're notifying U of U health plans.
All right, Ariel Harrison, thank you for that report. And now switching gears to our meteorologist, Chase Thomason, and we have some action going on here.
Yeah, you're going to help me out.
This marks something that normally you wouldn't hear about in Utah.
Very rare in Utah. This is a big anniversary for us that grew up here. Remember this very well. Of course, it is the tornado that hit downtown Salt Lake City.
Wow.
So here's what happened. We had some cold air come in from the northwest. We had warm, windy weather coming in from the south. But we also had what we call a boundary. We had something going on here in the Salt Lake Valley, likely a lake breeze coming off the Great Salt Lake. And then everything started to rotate. And of course, the funnel came down. And then we had that tornado that touched down near the I-15, I-80 junction. So not only did we have a tornado in Utah, but it hit a heavy populated area, and then it went right through downtown Salt Lake City.
And this happened in the middle of the day?
Middle of the day happened right around 12:30 to about 1 o'clock.
Lunchtime.
Yeah, during the noon newscast on KUTV. So, of course, it touched down near that junction. Let's step this way. The tornado then hit the Delta Center. So, of course, right through downtown Salt Lake City. The Outdoor Retailers Convention was going on. And then eventually that tornado went through Memory Grove Park. You've been there before, up through the avenues. And then it dissipated. But it did cause a lot of damage. We had one fatality, 80 people injured, a lot of trees down, and a lot of recovery over the next several months to really repair everything.
Wow.
It was
Okay.
quite
So
something.
that is one thing that I know that you all have been studying as well.
That's right.
Do we have weather conditions like that today?
Not today.
Okay.
Yeah, not today. And typically we know when the conditions are primed for severe weather when it comes to tornadoes, so that still can happen, but it's very rare in Utah. So let's get right to your forecast. We've had a little bit of rain today here in Utah, and they've been pretty hit or miss. These stray thunderstorms, though, producing some decent rain towards Torrey and Capitol Reef National Park. Park City got a quick quarter-inch of rain. Jordanelle, 0.06, and just a few raindrops at Monument Valley and near that fire outside of Beaver. Right now, we still have a few of these pop-up showers and thunderstorms to our southwest. They've been just kind of staying in the mountains, so not really producing a whole lot except some cloud cover in Salt Lake and Utah County, also the Tooele Valley, maybe some gusty winds. Some storms across northeastern Utah trying to roll through Duchesne. We also have some rain to our southwest, and that might try to roll in later tonight, especially south of Salt Lake. But right now, Fillmore down to St. George is dry. We've had some rain towards Escalante and Capitol Reef. These storms are now pushing towards the east. We'll see if they hold together, but they are approaching Moab from the west. So here's the setup. We got that monsoon moisture around this ridge of high pressure. We also have a weak storm hanging out off the coast of California. That's also moving some moisture into Nevada. Eventually, some of this will just kind of linger through the weekend, and we're going to have some thunderstorms this weekend, but mainly be confined to central and southern Utah. But here we are at 10 o'clock, still dry. Any evening plans, but take a look at this rain to our west. That might push into Utah County overnight. And then as we head into tomorrow morning, though, it looks pretty quiet across the state. By the afternoon, more of these pop-up thunderstorms, but you'll see some drier air pushing into northern Utah. So most of the activity will be to the south of I-80. There'll be a risk for flash flooding at some of those state and national parks, so avoid those slot canyons. And then by Sunday, though, it does look quite dry in northern Utah as everything kind of shifts towards southern Utah. And then we really, I think, dry out as we head into next week generally. Temperatures 80s and 90s for tomorrow, very similar to what we saw today, and we'll likely do it all over again on Sunday as well. Temperatures at or just a few degrees below normal, upper 90s in St. George, isolated storms, and then it turns partly cloudy next week with highs just above 100 degrees, overnight lows in the low to mid 70s. Salt Lake, we're at 93 tomorrow, 93 on Sunday, more sunshine, overnight lows near 70, and then next week I've upped the temperature a few degrees, looks like it could be a little bit hotter. We'll see highs in the mid to upper 90s by the middle part of the week with more sunshine, especially Wednesday and Thursday. So that monsoon pattern kind of turns off a bit for northern Utah. I still think maybe some pop-up storms in the mountains, but we stay dry.
All right. Thank you so much, Chase. Turning our attention now to what's happening with our 2 News weather app. You want to make sure that if you are curious about changes in your neighborhood when we're talking about the weather, get those updated forecasts, live radar. They're on your phone, and the app is free to download. Right now, wildfire raging across Hawaii. That fire destroyed the Hawaiian town of Lahaina. It's a stark reminder that fires can burn anywhere. And while we normally think of wildfires in forested areas, the truth is it can affect any neighborhood. Lincoln Graves is live in Magna. How is this possible, Lincoln?
Yeah, Jamie, obviously when most people think of wildfire, they think of it burning through a forest, or they think of it burning maybe in the foothills of Salt Lake City. As we saw in Lahaina, these fires, they actually burned down into the town, and then destroyed much of the town, 80% of the town. That's the latest number we heard. So I spoke with firefighters today about these sort of urban wildfires, and they said, yes, under the right conditions, we can see neighborhoods, we can see towns, we can see cities burn. And when they say the right conditions, they really mean sort of red flag warning conditions, where we're seeing high winds, where we're seeing low humidity, and where we're seeing extreme temperatures. And they basically say that once a certain number of structures sort of ignite, it's kind of like a tipping point. There's just so much being burned, so much fuel out there. It's creating so many embers. Those embers are flying and then catching other things on fire, that it's kind of a runaway effect, and there's really no way to stop it until the weather calms down and stops it in that regard. Jamie?
And Lincoln, you know what? It's just so unusual to hear about these kind of fires. Looking at this, to see something like this happen in a tropical place, of all things, Hawaii.
Yeah, absolutely. People think of Hawaii as sort of a lush tropical garden, but they have drought in Hawaii, and in fact they have wildfire season on the island of Maui, also on the Big Island and the island of Oahu. So they're actually used to seeing fires during their wildfire season. I spoke with one man last night who grew up there. He now lives in South Ogden. He says, hey, we would get fires every year. Fire was a way of life for us during wildfire season, and perhaps one building burned, or perhaps somebody's shed burned, but they had never seen anything like this. It was just the perfect storm of conditions leading to this fire, which just grew exponentially. And once it gets to that size, whatever is in its path, whether that is a cabin in the woods or a neighborhood in the middle of, say, the Salt Lake Valley, all of the structures there, everything that can burn, it is possible to ignite, and that's when you get these types of situations. We've had these situations before in recent years. Think of Paradise, California. Think of Superior, Colorado, or Boulder County, Colorado, about 2 years ago. So it is possible.
All right, Lincoln Graves, thank you so much for that report. And our coverage on the devastating wildfires continues tonight. We have with us now Michael Smalden, who is the executive director for the American Red Cross of Northern Utah and Southwest Wyoming. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
What are some of the things that Red Cross is doing here locally to help as far as the response is concerned in Maui?
Yeah, so right now we are mobilizing some of our specialized volunteers to head out there. So an island response is a way unique than having it in the lower 48 of the United States. And so specialized volunteers who are specialized in sheltering, feeding, and damage assessment will be heading out in that direction.
How is it determined who goes and who stays behind? Because the island of Maui and the Hawaiian Islands in general, they're so big. And I know everybody wants to jump in and help.
Yeah, so we always ask for when volunteers come in and people want to come and volunteer with the Red Cross, there's training that's involved in that. So these are volunteers who are specialized and trained in multiple different areas of disaster. So as you said, it's a small area, so we're going to send those volunteers who are specialized in multiple areas to be able to flex what they do on the island.
And what is the biggest need right now?
Financial giving. I know a lot of people want to do in-kind, and they want to ship clothes and different things like that, but that comes as a cost. We have to, if they're donated clothes from home, we have to wash them, sanitize them, and then ship them. Even if it's donated items, newer items, that comes as a cost for the organizations.
Because you have to ship it out there and all of that. And I'm sure logistically speaking, there's challenges involved.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's right now the island is pretty much shut down, and we're trying to help and make sure that we are taking care of people in the immediate area, and so making sure that we're helping them on an individual basis, which financial donation will help us be a little more flexible in taking care of everybody's individual need.
And is there a Red Cross chapter in just about every state here,
yes,
including Hawaii?
Yep, there's one in Maui, and there's a couple across the other islands, and so our teams there, specialized volunteers. We had a lot of volunteers there who opened up shelters immediately to be able to help people evacuate and get to a safe location.
Okay, and then with the coordination that goes on, are you in constant communication with everybody when it comes to this magnitude of need?
Right now, like, communication is hard on the island, and so there's
Really?
you know, power outages and cell tower damage and things
Yeah.
like that. So communication is kind of hard to reach out to. We have specialized teams who do establish communication so they can get back to our national headquarters and our disaster teams, who are now coordinating efforts of sending leadership volunteers, leadership staff members to establish what we call a disaster relief operation
Yeah.
for the state of Hawaii.
And this is something that you are well versed in, because here in this part of the country, wildfire season is prime time for Red Cross here, right?
Yes, you know, we had a great spring and a fantastic summer.
Yeah.
We had a lot of precipitation and a lot of water across the state.
Yeah.
But that brings a lot of growth. And now it's been dry, and a lot of the mountainsides and the hills and things that have been green throughout the summer are now turning yellow,
Yeah.
which is leading to fuel for wildfire. So it's something that we are keeping a real good close eye.
Oh, wow. When you're talking about training volunteers, how long is that training? And then even after completing training and you're going out to give relief efforts where it's needed, how long are these volunteers, especially when heading over to Maui, how long are they going to be gone?
Yeah, so most volunteers are going to be heading out there, going to be out there for 3 weeks.
Okay.
So it's going to be a 3-week deployment, and then they'll come back home, do refresh, and then if needed, they'll head back out.
And then what is the training process like for them? Is it like a quick 8-hour, I say quick, but 8 hours is not exactly quick, but what is that training process like for someone who has never volunteered before and
Yeah.
they just want to be, they have time on their hands, they have 3 weeks, and they want to be able to do what they can?
Yeah, so for the volunteers who are going out to Hawaii specifically, these guys have taken advanced courses and classes, which are
okay.
hours and hours of classes
Okay.
that help them become more advanced in what they do.
Okay.
When we do our volunteers, and we want our volunteers and everyone to come and volunteer with the American Red Cross, right?
Right.
We have, you know, different methods of online training to in-person training. Some positions are a couple hours of training, and some advanced positions takes a little bit more time.
And when you say advanced, what would that be?
Those are our supervisory positions.
Okay.
Those are the ones who are going out and managing shelters or running food operations and
Okay.
feeding operations.
Okay.
They're the ones who are out there running our operation and making sure that it's moving in a smooth manner.
It sounds like an army of people are doing what they can to make sure that things work out the way that they need to. Is there a phone number or a contact for anyone who's watching right now and they're saying, I physically cannot get out there, but I want to make sure that I can do what I can to help those right now?
Yeah, you can quickly text Hawaii Wildfire to 90999, or you can go to redcross.org or 1-800-RED-CROSS.
Right, sounds good. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, we appreciate all that you do, and we hope that everyone is able to help out, especially now, because there are a lot of people here in Utah who know folks over in Hawaii,
Yes.
and a lot of Utahns travel to Hawaii even for vacations and whatnot. So thank you again for sharing this information with us.
Thank you.
And of course, we want to thank you for joining us for 2 News Live. We're going to be here Monday at 5:30, Monday through Friday. We hope that you will join us again for more in-depth conversations. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you again next week.